Welcome back to Weekend Warrior Workshop DIY, where we get things done. I'm so excited you joined me today. Today we're going to tackle this storage area in our master bathroom remodel. We're going to take it from this to this. If that interests you, stick around. All right, thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to cover how I'm starting on this storage unit for our bathroom. I covered in the last video how important it is for us to get this project complete for the upcoming holidays, to get our bathroom stuff out of that part of the house so we can get it back in here where it belongs. And so on this video, I'm going to cover how I prepared this for paint. And then part two, after this video, we're going to go into building the actual shelves for here, and there's a surprise for this portion on top. So stick around, let's prepare this, get ready for the next part, and don't forget to come back on part two. All right, so we have the three pieces milled up here. Let's take them in the bathroom and install them. All right, so we're back in the bathroom. What we want to do is we want to put the top piece one first. That way when we set the side pieces, it kind of helps hold it. Now what we're going to do is put it up with wood glue, and then we're going to use some brad nails. Now the strength comes in the wood glue. The brad nails are just going to temporarily hold it while the glue dries. So let's get going installing. All right, so we have installed the 3 sides here, and I want to cut the plywood for the bottom here and get that installed. And then I'm also going to be milling up the face frame part that'll be on the outside. It'll go around. What I'll do is mill up the lumber for that, and we'll go out in the shop and get started on that. All right, so I went ahead and finished cutting this piece, and I set it in there. Now it wasn't square, so I left it long. And what I ended up doing, I set it in there, and then I took a pencil line on the underneath part because this front edge was not square to the back. The sides were relatively square. You can still see there's a little bit of a gap there, and the opposite over here. So the cabinet definitely not square, but we'll make up for that with some caulking, paintable caulking. But the pieces here along the edge turned out nice. And then I was able to take the pencil on the underneath part there to get a nice clean cut on this. So I'm going to go ahead and put some brad nails in just to hold it in. And so I need to switch out because the 1.5 a little too long, so I'll be right back. These are 5/8 inch brad nails. It's 1/4 inch plywood, so these should be plenty to hold that. So we'll go ahead and get these and tack this in place. All right, so I sanded the walls in there, and then I put on the caulking, paintable caulking, in preparation for the paint. So next up, what I want to do is I want to take care of the framing around this cabinet. There's going to be a frame material similar to this that goes all the way around the cabinet. And I want to do that in progression because I want to get that done before I do the skip trowel on the walls here. I have 2 walls that I need to do some skip trowel on. And so before I get to that part, I want to do the framing around here. So let's head out to the shop and get that taken care of. right, so I'm trimming out this storage cabinet area here, and I did not want to do mitered corners. The reason why is this board is not as thick, and I didn't want a weird angle there. So I dealt with a little bit of challenge with regard to that. This is pre-stained material that I bought from a big box store, and the challenge with that is it would be very difficult for me to try to finish this. Some of you might know some good strategies, but a way that I've navigated that is when I cut the end of it, you know, it has that real bright, clean wood look, and I don't want that. So when I have this piece up on top, that's going to be showing. As soon as you walk in the door, you would see that on top. So what I did to compensate for that is I took a scrap piece and ran it through my table saw about 1/8 of an inch. And then I took my overall piece on top and cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue this piece and nail it to the edge of that. And it's going to give me, let me hold it here so you can kind of see. It's going to give me, you'll see a little bit right here on the edge. But when you walk in the door, it's actually going to blend in with the grain up above. Now, ideally, if I could have saved that piece from this vertical piece here, the grain would have just continuously flowed into that. However, I didn't pre-plan ahead to think about that. So ideally, that would have been the best scenario. But this will be next best for me, at least at this point. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and glue that and stick some brad nails in there, just temporarily hold it, and then I'll install it. That way when you walk in the door, it has the same finished look to it. So I just want to share what I'm doing in case you're dealing with a pre-finished material and need to kind of compensate for a cut in that's hard to cover up or match the finish. So it's similar to like a veneer. You could probably do it thinner with this material being so soft. I didn't want to go too thin. So I think it's going to look nice. I'm going to be happy with that result. It's a lot better look than if I leave that or try to do some stain, which will be really dark right there. So wanted to share that strategy. I've gone ahead and glued that veneer type piece on and put some brad nails in there. Structurally, it's not super strong, you know, gluing to the end grain, but it'll be enough to hold that veneer piece on for me. And I'm pretty happy with how it looked out. So pretty happy with how it turned out. So let's get it installed. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is give you a little close-up of what that's gonna look like. If you look up top here, it just kind of blends in. And ideally, if I could have saved the cutoff here, thinking ahead, I could have then continued that grain up to match in. But with this being a butt joint here, it ends up looking really nice. You know, you're gonna have a transition there anyways. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. Give you a real close up here with regard to what that tip looks like, and then around the side, just gives it a really nice cleaned off look. So I'm really happy with how that's turning out so far. Over here, just to share with you a little bit what I did, I cut the piece a little wide. I held it on with clamps, and then I did a little scribe line on blue tape. Put some blue tape on it, did a scribe line. Just because this is an old exterior wall and it wasn't quite flat, and it was hard for me to compensate for that with some shims. I did the best I could, but I couldn't quite get it perfect, and so I did have to scribe that a little bit just so it looks straight. It's all about appearances, and you would notice a little gap right here. So this right along here is going to have some grout caulking when I do finish off that part, and so that'll all get sealed off. So next I need to do is put the lower piece to finish framing out the box frame here. I'm gonna try doing the same strategy as I did up here down on this piece, and we'll get that one installed, and then we'll start working on the actual cabinet door that'll be in here. So let's get going. I'll show you over here challenges I'm kind of dealing with. This is an old house, 1940. This bathroom, I'm guessing 60s or 70s. So here's the issue I'm dealing with is this opening was not square. And so it was hard for me to deal with the compensating for that up above. So I end up having to do it down below here. And it's pretty significant. Let me show you. I mean, I could take, you know, that much of my finger, stick it in there, give you a reference here, so measurement. So, I mean, it's a pretty big gap, and then it's flush on this side. So the reason why I wanted to make sure that I compensated for that here was because I'm building a cabinet door that's going to go in there, and that's a significant amount where if I built the door to the frame opening, it would just look really bad. So my plan is, now that I'm able to compensate for that, turning it nice and square. So you can see the difference from here to here. Hopefully you can see the light through there. It's a pretty big difference. So now that the opening of the frame is square, I can build the door square, which is the important part, looking from the outside here. Now, with regard to this gap, I was willing to compensate for that there and be okay, because what's going to end up happening is there'll be some framing material here on the sides and some drawer glides, and this will actually be a shelf similar to our kitchen pantry that you'll pull out. So when that's installed, you're not going to really notice anything underneath of that. So it's something that'll be hidden. I'll know it's there, but it was something that I was willing to compensate on to try to get a square cabinet opening so I could build a square door. And that was the area I was willing to compensate on, and kind of give in on without completely tearing all this out and rebuilding it. So that was something that I ended up compromising on. I wanted to show you what and why, what challenges I was dealing with, why I made the choices I did. There's probably a lot of you that are smarter than I am, and saying, why don't you do it this way? I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because I'm always wanting to learn from each project. I want to learn from making mistakes, but I also want to learn from other people. So if you have a better way that you take something that's not quite square and find ways of compensating for it, I'd love to hear them in the comments. We can learn from each other. So go ahead and share. But the next steps up that I want to do is I want to get the framing materials for my two shelves that are going to slide out, because I want to paint them the same time. So I want to get everything done that I need to paint first, and before I start working on the cabinet and anything else. So that'll be the next steps for me. just when you're laying out those drawer slides, make sure that you get your door in first before doing that, and you'll be happy. Now, this was a trade-off, because if I did put in the European hinges in a framed cabinet style, like I did with the medicine cabinet, I would have been able to have these where this was flush with this. However, it would have stuck out into the room. So I'm gaining that not coming out into the room and losing 1.5 inches on the actual drawer itself. But I decided that's worth the trade-off, because I don't lose the storage totally. When I put this material here, I'm actually going to gain a pretty nice shelf there, and that's going to happen on this other drawer slide as well. So just wanted to pass that information along to you when you're setting up, because the pre-planning part here is really what's going to have your project turn out nicer. The more time you spend prepping and planning, the better your overall project's going to be. So I just want to share that, because I have made a lot of those mistakes and I had to redo them. So I just want to share what I've gone through and why I set it up like this, and we'll see how the project goes. So let's get out in the workshop, and we're going to start building the first drawer to slide out here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so excited to have this portion done, this part 1. Come back for part 2, where we're going to build the storage unit for the upper portion. We're going to install the shelves on the underneath part, so we'll have 2 shelves down here and some 3 compartments up here. Really excited to show you that part of the build. So come back on the next video where we'll be covering that step by step. Also, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and it's free. And then also hit that bell notification. It'll notify you next time I post a video for part 2. So with that, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.